This is the Opioid Abatement Committee meeting, and it is 5:30, and we are in room 112. I want to thank everyone for being here, and we'll call to order. So if I would ask one of you to volunteer to do the invocation. Anybody?
I'll do it. Pray. Dear God, thank you so much for this opportunity tonight where we can come together and just think about and talk about ways to make our county better, especially with the opioid crisis that we have. We know that you look down and your heart breaks for those that are dealing with this addiction. And God, I pray that some of that spirit is felt tonight so that we feel the gravity of the situation. I pray that you guide our steps and our conversation as we are in this room, but also outside of these walls to fulfill our purpose. And God, we love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I'd like us to stand to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we'll be okay on timing. I was going to try to get us out fairly quick. But the report of the committee chairman, there's a lot going on, but I don't have a report. I'm going to refer it to Dustin, our grant accountant, to kind of give us all a heads up. But I would like to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I don't have any recognition of any public. There's no one here to speak. Are you speaking? You might be speaking. So we'll get there, we'll close that. You have minutes in front of you from May, and I hope you've had time to review. I need an approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So, report as chairman, like I said, I don't have anything to report other than we have a lot going on and a lot of moving pieces. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So we'll go forward with report of the grant account.
So the first area is in September, the hospital and 3 nonprofits, as well as potentially 4 county departments put together a grant proposal for you all to look at for the $500,000. So I'm looking for guidance from you all. You all will have a package that will explain everything to you about what's requesting, who is doing what the budget is, how hopefully we'll bring in additional funds of $500,000 to the county. We will have 2 opportunities to bring that to us. The first one is going to be a trial with the state to see what the application is and see what feedback is provided in case we don't get it. So that way the next round we'll be able to meet all their goals. So I'm looking for some feedback. Are you all wanting a small presentation of 15 minutes with 15 minutes of open discussion? What would you all like to see?
Who would be giving the presentation?
Presentation would be myself, as well as Rod Hockerode, who is the CEO of Sumner Hospital. In attendance would also be all of the partners who are looking at volunteer behavioral health. You're looking at Sumner Coalition, and then you're also looking at 2 other departments within the county. And then there is 1 nonprofit we are waiting to hear back from.
I have no problem with anybody presenting anything. I think it's good to see visuals, and talk about it. In real stuff, because we've been doing this for a while, and we kind of have good questions. So in my opinion, I think that having them come and do a presentation, 15 minutes, whatever, that's plenty, maybe 20 if they go a little bit. I'm all in favor of that. Yeah, maybe next month? Is that when they're proposing?
They'll be proposing at the September meeting.
September, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure you coordinate with IT, because they'll have to make sure they get their stuff up on the TV.
So, do I have to vote on that?
No, I just think that needs.
Can I ask a clarification?
Yes.
Is this for an additional state level grant that we're reaching out for?
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to make sure I understood that.
That would be the additional state level grants. Right now, the state is going to provide guidance for their grant process on July 31st. And then everybody is reconvening at the hospital again to discuss, the proposal that you all will see in September, and then also discuss how to move forward with trying to obtain the additional $500,000. Next up is the financials. As Will had mentioned earlier, you should have two financials in front of you. You're looking for the one that actually has the Sumner County Coalition at the top of that area. So according to the state, we received our payments on March 1st of 2023. We fully committed payments on the fully committed payments. Let me walk that back. Has to be done by 3/1/2025. After that, they have 2 years suspended, so 3/1/2027, all of the $901,622.77 has to be spent. Okay. On top of that, round one has to be spent by 6/30/2025. And at this time, you all have committed $389,187.50. There's a potential commitment of $500,000, or we will release it for the next round of funding coming up in November. And then we have amount remaining of $12,435.27. During the last meeting, there was discussion about giving that to Recovery Fast. However, after reaching out to our state contacts, they said it needed to be for abatement and remediation, and that would not necessarily qualify. We could request a table for $40 to allow all the agencies to know there is grant funding should they want to go down that route, but they discouraged the amount that we have given them. What I would propose is this body to let me speak to the subcommittee that is going to be meeting next week for substance abuse. It's held at the health department, and it brings in some of the nonprofits and other organizations on the state level to see if there's any needs that Sumner County has that may not be fully addressed, such as we do have Noxalon that is available through the ROPES program. However, my understanding is, and I need clarification from them, is they provide the Noxalon or the Narcan, but they don't actually have a box to put on the wall for it to be easily accessible to anybody. So with them going to restaurants and being able to give those services, we may want to think about upgrading their programs so that way it's actually seen in the community and easily accessible.
How many locations need boxes?
That's one of the questions I'm going to ask is how many presentations have been done. I know they were targeting restaurants and they wanted to have that area up first due to some overdoses that had occurred. And then also look to see if there are any businesses that want to actually have some of the boxes. I bet not many.
Yeah.
But also to see if there's any other ideas that, or other areas of the programs that may need a nice little upgrade to it. However, we do have to have these funds earmarked by March 1st. So we do have a deadline approaching. If not, we can add it to the November 1st allocations.
And how much do we have to allocate by March 1st?
Right now, you have $512,435.27.
Well, I'll make a motion for you to go talk to them and get clarification on what their intent is.
Okay, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We didn't make a decision on the table. A $40 table, was that not also, or is that?
I'm sorry.
Was that an either or?
I don't think they would let him.
They
They discouraged it.
They discouraged me from giving the full amount because you want to
Big
do a
donation.
donation, but I still can do a table for $40.
Can I ask what the table's for?
The table is to set up during Recovery Fest to actually let the organizations know about the opioid abatement program and that we would have grants available hopefully on November 1st for them to apply for.
This is almost like a trade show, for lack of a better word.
I would like to defer to my colleagues in the back who have actually attended and may be able to provide more information because I am now out of my scope.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
So there will be, I think last year we had 39, 40 vendor booths. So it's similar to a trade show. But yeah, it's just another form of advertisement for you guys to put it out there, hey, we need applicants. But your market is for people to use the funds to facilitate this recovery. It's not to people needing recovery. No, there will be mental health providers there. There will be treatment facilities,
Recovery groups.
recovery groups, celebrate recovery. All these groups will be there.
Be there at having tables
They'll
or
be
be there like
They'll
coming?
be there with tables as well, and then the attendees are generally people that are in recovery and just coming out and celebrating with their families, their stories of recovery throughout the time. We do some free meals to people, so,
They do a countdown where everybody kind of checks off how much, clean time they have and everything. It's not a long deal, it's like 3 hours, September 8th, so.
So, if I can speak to, I've been twice, and, I would recommend that we do it, but the one challenge would be is that we need people to work the booth, we can't just sit there.
What time was it?
2 to 5.
I hate to nitpick this, but it sounds to me like you're talking about a, recovery jamboree and a trade show. There is a distinction between the two, is that correct?
It's the same event, just throughout the event, there will be vendors set up with information booths around.
Okay, I just don't want to, my only concern is that we get caught into somebody individually, and I don't want us to be assuming any kind of
I
liability.
mean, most of the actual attendees will be more individual based, but there will be contacts. I mean, another option, if y'all didn't want to actually set up a booth, is we could send y'all the, list of vendors that.
I'm not
out there
against it, it's just I'm looking
afterwards,
for some kind of partition here.
Yeah, there will be plenty of people out there that don't have any ties to actual organizations that would qualify to seek these funds, but there will be several.
So as the event
that are
occurs,
as well.
the vendors are set
Yeah.
up.
So it'll be like, there's a little bit of live music, there's a little bit of speaking, more live music, more speaking, but throughout this whole thing, people are wondering about going and getting different information at these different booths.
Okay, thanks.
My question would be, so does everybody have information on that? We'll come back and do that. My question would be, like, what would we provide at the booth? Would we provide applications? Would we provide flyers? What do we have that we would hand out? Because people like things in a hand, they like to put things in their bag.
I mean, from my standpoint, I'll be looking at targeting the vendors and actually being able to give them the information through a flyer saying this is where we are headed, these are our goals, these are our next month's meetings, should you want to attend. We do allow a public forum, and that would be it.
That would be just an informational booth with them.
Yes.
That's what I was just thinking, it almost sounds like we could get the list of attendees somehow with some email addresses, and then, if you don't mind, emailing out,
Yeah.
hey, don't forget, there's this application out there if you want it.
Okay.
And
Might work better, because I have a feeling, because I've done marketing fairs and things like that, and, usually you have a table dress, you have your pamphlets, you're interacting with, and not just the vendors, but you're gonna have individuals go up and go, what is this about? So I think for us to kind of neutralize ourselves from a financial point of, like giving out funding for the group, we should be more neutral and say, let us know what you need, not
Here we are.
solicitation, of people.
If I may, what I think the best thing to accomplish both is, and it may involve buying a table, as it were, and not setting one up, but I think it's a good networking opportunity to have somebody there to hand stuff out to the vendors that are there, but just not us to be a vendor people can have direct contact with.
Right, because I'm concerned about, what's that law, Sarbanes-Oxley, or not Sarbanes-Oxley, there's another one where you can't solicit money for certain things, there's a rule about that. I don't know, way back in my head from years ago that in my world, I can't get referrals for money, it's sort of like that, but, I keep it vendor related and not,
Not personal based.
yeah.
You'll end up with answered questions all day, I think, and if you could just go around and hand those flyers out to the
And say,
vendors.
this is what we have,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't mind doing it. I've got to look at my calendar, I don't mind doing it, helping out with it. As far as being a volunteer to man it, I mean, I'm a good chatter.
I still like Mr. Lambert's idea, though, if we get the list, send them an email, that way we can say, hey, well, here's what we said. We wasn't listening to.
You can include a direct link to that application.
Correct.
So that way it's all
Yeah,
there.
and then also, we could have a sign-up sheet where they could sign in and say, you know, like volunteer mental health, and then put their email there, and then we would have that as well. We could collect that while we're there, if we want to do it. And there's in a marketing way. To make people aware, I mean, that's our job, is to let people know what funds we have to help support things. So I'm all in favor of doing it and manning it, but I just need maybe one other person.
And I'll help, and I like to email out, but if we could just have a flyer, and I'll go with it, the idea of not being responsible for setting up a table really pleases me a whole lot. If we could just walk around and, is that, y'all can like go. We're not the full committee, but
No,
I don't think anybody.
I mean, we're trying to give these people money, I surely.
Yeah,
don't think
surely they will.
You can't do that.
We are trying to give away $500,000 before March.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would eliminate us from interacting with individual, clients that you may have an intermingling through the process and doing.
And we don't wanna look like we're referring either.
Right.
No. So.
That's what almost my fear is, that if we have a table, somebody comes
Yeah.
up and corners
Me.
Mary and wants her to commit right then and there to something, and
Yeah, and I say, I can't, and then they get all.
From a legal perspective, you don't have the table, but pay for the table
Yeah.
and just walk it, because they're gonna have their contact information, they're gonna have cards, stuff to pick up, you're gonna get a contact list going.
Right, so I think donating, well, I guess it would be donating $40 to the cause, and then walking the talk and getting the information, that would be most likely better. I think y'all are right on spot on about that. I do have a concern about solicitation.
Okay.
Are we all in favor of the $40?
I'll motion for $40.
So,
All in favor? There you go. And then, you all be making the flyer?
Yes. So looking at the next sheet that you all have in regarding the financials, on April 29th, 2024, we received $891,525.52. We have to commit it by the 2026 date and have the funds fully spent by 2028. At this point in time, I am requesting to withhold the $500,000 based upon the precedents that we have to look at infrastructure projects. I will be discussing that momentarily, and that would lead into $391,525.52. I'm not looking for any motions or anything on this fund yet, as we will have to have that discussion in September, because what you all decide in September will impact what we do in November. Regarding payment 3, you will have information, or we will have information July 31st. There is a preliminary projection that will be given to all of the counties. That is strictly a projection. We are going to be receiving additional funds due to the Kroger settlement that will be going into the restricted funds. However, some of the restricted funds may be slowly decreasing because there are entities that have bankrupt. So that is where we are headed. But coming at the end of this month, we will have a clear picture of how much funds we have, how much we have to earmark, and then turn around and hopefully see how much we will have come next spring.
Just to bring the committee up to speed, this is asking for forgiveness because I didn't have time to get permission. I had to speed a resolution through legislative on this Kroger deal that he's talking about. Just to let y'all know, it's up there. It should be on the commission agenda. The state gave us a very tight turnaround on this. and those funds are still up in the air, but what they've anticipated is what he's reported. But just to let you know, when you see it on the commission agenda, that's what that's about. I'm trying to do that so I get it up to the state in time so that we're eligible for the funds.
What's the resolution say? Just.
It's that to participate in this Kroger bankruptcy settlement.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that so that we don't lose out.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're headed into the discussion, the vote that was made at the last meeting, which was to work with Tracy and Judge Hunter on what they would really like, the middle ground, and what the low part is. So Tracy identified DC4, which is Metro Nashville, we'll just pass this around, Metro Nashville, Davidson County's drug courts. Basically, what is being passed around first is what they have. So Metro actually has 500 acres. Those 500 acres is actually a compound not only for drug court, but you're looking at Mel's home and a few other structures that are on there. So that is what they actually have. What I'm passing out next is the aerial footage. Okay, thank you. Is the aerial footage. The aerial footage itself, when you get it, I'll wait to discuss it. Oh, sorry. So you're looking at the aerial footage. In the middle is actually where the court is. You also have kitchen and an area for them to eat, laundry. To the left and to the right is living areas. The two separate buildings on the far right-hand side appear to be the administrative buildings for their teams to work in. On the right-hand side, you'll see the sand volleyball court. Left-hand side, you'll see a fire pit. So looking at it, when I discussed it with Tracy and Judge Hunter, primarily with Tracy first, she had a hand drawing. She wanted roughly 5 buildings, which this would roughly represent. So you're looking at 5 acres for them to actually build out. The next step is the side view. So you can.
What did you say was in the middle of this building? A kitchen, laundry,
and then the court itself. So you're seeing an up close in the back side, so you can see where the parking is and a little closer view of it. The interesting part is from a county commissioner standpoint, just besides trying to build a facility, you're also having to look at what the operational cost is. So I did reach out to Mr. Pickett, who is their point of contact for finances for Metro Nashville, and asked, according to their team, they have owned the building since the mid-90s. No major expenses have occurred. The building is actually run through their general services, which is compared to your gen ops. So they pay for the electric and all the utilities when need be. And then on top of it, the operational fund, which would be salary, friends, programming costs, that is derived from a grant that they receive on a regular basis, and that is $1,183,300. So looking at it, that's the major one that they were looking at. I don't know if the courts can actually receive those funds or not. That is a conversation that I'll be having with them later. So after discussing this, my next steps were to look at the middle road grounds and then also look at the bottom. Middle road ground, there are a few conversations that are being had that I am not able to discuss at this point in time because not all partners are at the table. So looking at it, one of those partners that I can mention is Commissioner Klein with Gen Ops. We had a discussion with him and a few others to look at potential areas. And so looking at it, they are to get back with Commissioner Klein themselves by Friday, tomorrow. Commissioner Klein gets that information, then he is tapping me, and I'm to reconvene all bodies to see what their interests are, what we could possibly forward with the opioid funding, and what we cannot. I'll reconvene everybody should they decide they do not want the opioid funding to either enhance the programming or to try to do something. Then we'll release those funds for another grant cycle. But that's why I asked for the $500,000 right now to be held back, because of the precedent that was set with the first round, to see what we can do, something that is larger, that would be longer lasting, and then also to give them time to see what they can do. So I'll be asking for that next month when we have that discussion, and then hopefully we'll hear back from the courts and from Commissioner Klein to see which direction they would like to pursue, and then I'll present that back. At some point in time, should they want to pursue the funds, and should the funds be used for a county building, then I will be working with my counterparts with county legal to make sure that we bring both Gen Ops and the Opioid Abatement Committee together to have a discussion, so that way we are meeting all sunshine laws. Any questions on my findings? Yes.
The facility that they're looking at, how many beds would that be?
Right now, I did not get that, how many beds are on there. One of the concerns that we have that we will be getting to momentarily is, should they want to pursue this, the county would not want, right now, legal and finance would not want beds ran by the county, strictly because that could be an insurance liability for us and cause our insurance to increase. So in doing so, that would be something that would have to be ran through their nonprofit side and not through that. So right now, we're still on those discussions. But if you want to know what Davidson County's bedroom rate is, I will gladly get that, and then,
I just would.
yeah.
Are they looking for both genders?
They were looking for both genders. I know you were interested in grants, and you had asked me about that one. There is a federal grant to help women, especially women with kids. And we've already missed that grant opportunity. Should it come back up, we may want to explore it with the nonprofit or with the county agency.
I would like to caution this committee on two things. One is we don't want to get into the recovery business. We want to give the money to people that can, and the other is we don't want to become landlords with tenants. Those are the two biggest liabilities we're facing in this. So I just throw that out there. If y'all hash this out in the future, those will be the obstacles that you're going to run into.
And for that, I conclude the report from the grant accountant.
So then we have new business, we'll go into grant contracts.
The grant contracts have been drafted, reviewed by finance as well as legal. We are awaiting county commission to approve the FY25 budget so we can submit those contracts out and get them signed, and so the nonprofits can actually do the work with those funds. FY25 opioid grant application. In your packets, you actually see a draft of the application. There are, thank you. Looking at it, you're going to see some differences. Oh, they do? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to walk you through a few major ones that I would like to discuss with you, and then we'll discuss next steps. So if you return to page 4 in your packets, you will see that we maintained the 20% aggregates, and that dollar amount is there based upon the $391,525. I have added a 40% aggregate, and I did so based upon conversations that some of you all had with me, especially with a grant application requesting all of the funds. And so in this case, 40% is just an arbitrary number. I said if the grant application is requesting 40% more of the aggregate of funds, a presentation of 10 minutes followed by a Q&A period may be requested. And so I don't know if that is something that you all would like to pursue. I am recommending it, and so I am looking for some guidance in that area.
I think that's good because, there may be, some people may have gone over the amount, but you really didn't know exactly why were they over the amount. I mean, was pretty high over there. But if you are going to do that, why, tell us about it, you know, and I think that's a great idea to present. I always think it's great to present to a committee what you want to do and who you are, because you're kind of blind. I mean, there's no way all of us can know all of this. So, I like that. I think it's a great idea.
I do. It gives you a good representation of what they want to accomplish, that you better understand it. I'm a visual person, so I would really like that.
Do we need to vote on that?
No, this will occur in September.
Okay.
Anything in yellow has been changed or reflects something that one of you all have mentioned to me. The blue that you notice, the SCOB, we are technically not a board, we are a committee, so I'm working with ITS to change our email address that goes to the group to that area. Page 5, if you're looking at submission dates, there is a change that will impact our monthly meeting in January. So where it says December 23rd through January 7th, it says OAC to finalize their scores and submit information to grant accountant. Finance is asking for that to be extended to January 14th. And then Finance is requesting that OAC reconvene on the 16th to discuss the scores and make recommendations. And that way it would be 2 budgets by January 30th, so they can include it in the budgetary process that is going forward. Yes?
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. You're going to give us that big binder of work for Christmas?
Yes. We'll get to that, because the big binder is going to be a smaller binder. And we're going to work through that here in a second.
Merry Christmas.
Or it could be your wrapping paper, depends on how you look at it. I'll let you decide.
So that is where we are. We'll get to some of this in a second. Page 6, you notice we kept the TCA. However, due to some issues with some of the nonprofits, they wanted clarification on who else could apply for it or where else the funds could go. So on top of page 6, you will see the letter of agreements that the county mayor has signed with the state, and it lists specifically out who else can receive those funds. At the bottom, the instructions are kind of twofold. Everybody's going to be submitting the information based on clarification from you all. You all didn't like the documentation in the back, so we now have certain sections. So you have a section, their supporting documentation, another section they fill out with the supporting documentation, and we continue that for 5 sections. When they want to submit the applications, we're giving them 2 options. The first one is option 1. They can hand deliver it to us, and we will make copies of the exact way that they give it to us. So hopefully it should be in that order. If it is not in that order, it will be disqualified because you all wanted the information be back to back. Second way is via email, and they have to number and clearly label the documents in that order and that fashion. And if they do not hear from me in 24 hours, then they need to follow up with me to make sure that I've received it. One of the applications the previous year actually went to my spam folder, and so I did not find it 3 days after it was submitted. So we are trying to avoid that, or to avoid any complications from the email. Page 8 and page 9, you're going into the applications. And hopefully this will make better sense. We actually have different sections. So section 1 is about your organization. So everything that is not highlighted yellow is original. I'm asking for 500 characters to be limited, and so you'll see the letter G that goes across. That shows you how many characters the letter G is. So if you're looking for 500 characters, that is what you would actually see in those areas. On page 9, you have, oh, yes, ma'am.
What if they need more? Like, I can see where 1.6, a list of board directors, I mean, they could have 20.
So taking a cue from the state, and I love your question, looking at what they did last year for the state application, which we're going for, I'm limited to 200 characters.
So we're being generous.
We're being generous in some of those sections.
Well, I'm just saying, they can't.
Terry boy, T-boy.
And like our partners behind us, the Sumner County, Sumner Prevention Coalition, because I have drafted a grant application for the state, I used their name first, and then parentheses, I said Sumner Prevention Coalition, SPC, and throughout the rest of the document, it says SPC.
Just because you're making that folder smaller doesn't mean I don't realize it's the same amount of words. I got it.
Right now, page 9, 1.10, what programs do the Sumner County residents currently receive from your organization? One of the county commissioners did request that to be added because they were unsure what was actually given. They thought maybe one of the organizations only did Meals on Wheels, and so therefore we will actually want to see what is going to be provided or what their current services are. Next one is your agency certified, licensed, and/or accredited by the state? If yes, please explain what the certification, license, and/or accreditation means to your agency. 3 of you all did ask, what does their license mean? And so we want to give them the opportunity to explain what that license is. Page 10 is the same. Page 11. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You have a typo.
Oh, where?
It's just that first bullet at the end, salary.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just thought you'd want to.
Thank you.
I don't know.
That's down.
Got it. Thank you. There's another typo later on that I found, so you'll see it as well. Salary schedule is the same. The county monitoring form is the same. The proposal, page 12, what is the title of your proposal? That comes from Commissioner Schoaf because he questioned one of the titles I came up with for one of the nonprofits. So we're giving them the opportunity to name their proposal for when it goes in front of budgets. 2.4 is the 20% aggregate being offered, yes or no. And then that highlighted should have gone on down to the 40%. 2.6, how much is your agency going to contribute, is not a question from last time, but some of you all did want to know why departments were not contributing, especially when they were asking for larger dollar amounts. So this gives them an explanation of saying either A, we don't have the funds, or B, we want to test a pilot program, whatever reason they want to provide. Page 13, the FTE, as Legal and I have both discussed, the FTE is not a Sumner County position, number one. And number two, they need to realize that if they are asking for 2 years of funding, that a lapse could occur should the budgetary process be extended, and we're not able to release funds. So therefore, they are given a chance to clarify what they would do in those circumstances. 2.9, did you include a proposed budget at the end of this section? I gave an example of what the proposed budget could look like. 2.10, are you partnering or collaborating with others on this project? If so, then the letter of support. Some of the letters of support they received last time were from friends or groups that supported, but it was not necessarily somebody that had partnered with them on the grants. 2.1, how many Sumner County residents do you anticipate this program will serve? Page 14, what data do you have that demonstrates the need for this project program in Sumner County? Page 15, if you received funding last year, is the project the same? If not, explain why the project is not the same as the previous one, as this could impact the variance calculation for performance metrics. And that concludes section 2. Page 17, some of the nonprofits and I both agree we were not happy with the template that was given for our implementation of work plan. So this has been revised to make it easier for all parties, especially for everybody reviewing it. Page 20 begins the financial section. Everything is still the same. However, there is what our finance director had added at the very end that allowed the nonprofits to use the Tennessee Comptroller form. You see that on page 21. Page 22, you'll actually see the department's financials. And in doing so, number 4, there is a statement regarding if any subsidies or supplemental funding was given to the departments over the past 3 years. We need a statement about it to ensure that maybe these funds could be used to alleviate some of the supplemental funding that could be requested. Page 23 is capital purchase or bed space. You have questions beginning the section. Number 1, are you wanting to do this? Yes. Then you continue. If no, you go to the next section. Capital is defined as spending funds to acquire or maintain land and or building. Bed space rental is defined as having designated bed space for a Sumner County resident at the facility. And so you have the questions regarding it. Yes.
I know one of the questions that last time I think we were talking about designated bed space. We talked about, I think, how do we know it's designated? If somebody shows up and it's full, or if it's Sumner County, is that time limit?
Yes,
I'm so sorry.
no, that's a great question. You had that question beforehand, and it's about to be addressed. So yes, thank you for that question.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. 4.1, we go back to are you purchasing property? 4.12, have you completed any of the following steps? And then 4.3 is still the same. 4.14 is still the same. 4.15, explain how the budget was determined for this project and include the entire budget for the project after this section. Going to your questions about the bed space rental, that's 4.2. Will these beds be reserved for Sumner County residents? Yes or no? If no, the application cannot be accepted. There's my typo. As funds must go towards Sumner County residents. See page 2, main criteria. Page 25, how will Sumner County residents know your facility is offering the space? And how will they verify they are Sumner County residents? 4.23, explain what happens if there's not available space for a Sumner County resident when one is needed, which I think addresses your question. 4.2.4, how many beds will be reserved under this project? 4.25, explain the pro rata portion. Should a person leave the facility before completion of treatment or against medical advice? 4.26, explain what will occur if funds are depleted and the Sumner County residents currently occupied in a bed. 4.27, what is your success rate for people detoxing from opioids for 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years? What inpatient and outpatient treatment do you have after detoxification? 4.28, what certifications and insurance do you have to run the facility, business, and operations? 4.29, please provide the number of medical doctors, registered nurses, LPNs, licensed substance abuse counselors, administrative staff, and we did leave them in to address other. Yes, sir.
On the 4.28, do we not want copies of that? Like their certificate? I mean, if we're gonna ask for it, I can tell you I've got a $47 million policy, but if you don't ask for proof, it's okay.
So if you go to page 27 on the checklist, attachments to include for bed space, we have certification and insurance. Would you like me to clarify? Because I'll be glad to do so.
Probably.
Okay, I will gladly do that.
So you would put under 4.2A, when you would use our, and you would say,
Attached.
Policy, current policy.
page 27.
Yeah. Something just to let them know, hey,
Yeah,
we're looking
page
for that.
17.
Okay. Page 28, nothing changed, inventory page. Now we're moving on to grant policy for scoring. Everything has remained the same except for the 2 contracts that were taken out. You are also given section headers. And if you look at notifications, it was fleshed out a little bit more, saying Sumner County Facebook page, Sumner County website, print publication, Main Street Media. Now we go to page 31, the scoring sheets. It remains the same except for there are a few highlights. So if you turn to page 32, we did ask for data to support the need of the program. We also are asking does application meet the objective of awareness, education, and recovery, which is at the beginning of the grant application. And then a third one is, do you believe the project will save a life?
So, right there.
Yes.
Is that gonna be just a yes or a no, like a 5 or a 0?
That's more of a 5 or a 0 for you.
Okay.
So,
What was the question again?
do you believe this project will save a life? Either they get 5 points or they get 0 points.
How will you
I
know?
don't understand
Yeah,
how
I can't
that's
answer that.
necessarily relevant. We're talking about recovery, right?
Right. But some of the counties, Roland's not here, when we went to Murfreesboro, to the conference, some of them did have that added in strictly because they wanted to feel like they were saving somebody's life with the project going forward. But if you don't want to add it, we can remove it.
It's not a legal issue, it's just a,
That's why I was saying.
it sounds like a corner I'm gonna get painted into over something later, but.
Because I know,
Well, the
Yeah, I wouldn't
committee-
have problems.
yeah,
I wouldn't
okay.
be able to, because I can't judge how they believe.
Okay.
And I
So-
can say, yeah, I believe it'll save a life, but, you know, he may decide he wants to take his life, so that's kind of subjective. to do
Okay.
that.
I will gladly remove that one. And what I am requesting moving forward on the application policy and scoring sheet,
Can
Yes.
I ask one question, because I didn't hear it in there? Do we need to put something in the application that you would also want in a resulting contract that says something to the effect that their records, my concern specifically is the county resident part.
okay,
Do we need to have something in there that, I don't want to get into managing records, but I want them to know their records are subject to audit and review? Is that referenced anywhere in there?
no, audit and review is based on the grant contract and it says 3 years.
I think we need something in there about the documents used for the submittal of this proposal and, or something to the effect that will be the criteria used for administering this program
Okay.
are subject to review, so we can walk in and they say they got 4 Sumner County people and there's only 2. Is this, the annual report you reference on 21, is that in relation to just dollars?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think we need something for records. And you get with me on that later if you want.
Okay, I will do so.
Can I back up?
Yeah.
To notifications, so we're gonna have it on the county website, county Facebook, and Main Street Media. What about the municipal? They all have websites. I mean, if we really wanna reach out to people, I'm sure they'd be glad for us to touch them.
That is not something that we can control,
I
so
really can't tell them what to do, but I can't imagine
I
they
can,
wouldn't partner with us on this.
It could be suggestive.
You mean, if,
Say, like,
we could ask them, I'm just saying, can we ask them? Or if we don't want to?
Yeah, we can ask them anytime. I just don't think we need it written in here that we're gonna ask them to share it. Just reach out to the mayor and say, hey, throw this up.
to maybe suffice that question and to do what I did with our nonprofits, I have been in attendance, grant accountants, to email nonprofits and government agencies.
And are you emailing them to notify them of the project, or to say, because I know that, like, a lot of people live in Hendersonville and Gallatin, and they check the city website, that's all that's the place they check. And,
Yeah.
I know we can't tell them what to do.
No, I just think we're promulgating stuff, we just need to stay in our sandbox here. If they wanna jump on board, we're more than welcome to participate with them, but
Okay,
I don't think you want anything in writing.
okay. Yeah, just if we could, but not,
not in here.
okay.
Word of mouth. Okay. So I'm not looking for anything to be approved here tonight. What I am requesting is, that by August 11th, you'll get an email from me saying, have you had a chance to review it? Do you want to make any recommendations so I can start compiling a list and updating the document for our September meeting?
Other than what you shared with us tonight?
Yes. Or if there's something in here that you want to change or something that you may want to add or delete, to let me know by August 11th.
So, if you're finished with that, we'll go to term limits for opioid abatement committee members. So, we had talked about that before, you know, last year, I think it was, about how long we would be on the committee. How would we do this, the citizen group, the people that, the citizens. And, of course, we're voted in for a certain period of time, and then if you don't run or you get beat or whatever, you're not coming back. So, I always feel like there should be somebody in the committee that kind of knows what's going on. I know Dustin's here, but if we could talk about our official stuff, if somebody wanted to rotate off or somebody else wanted to rotate on, I'm afraid if we all dump off, then it kind of weakens the committee.
What if we said that two commissioners that are rolling off, whatever, get the, whatever, all that things you said, come back as citizens? I mean, could we continue some continuity that way? I would nominate Dylan to do that.
Can I make a recommendation?
I don't know that you want to.
If you're gonna get rid of the coterminous
I'm
aspect,
just saying,
and I
we'll look
still
for
think
ways.
that's a problem, because it could be everybody getting reelected and this
Exactly.
cycles on in perpetuity, or all of you go.
Yeah.
And
We
then
could
you've
all be
got
here on
nobody.
here for the next 30 years.
Exactly, so I think.
Thank you, though.
You'll be in one of those recovery plans.
Take a minute to think about it.
I think you need to do something along the lines of years for commissioners, 1 year for citizens, and then the budget can keep reappointing, after those terms. They can reappoint or appoint somebody new. And yeah, that's up to budget, whether they want to go through comms or how they want to handle that, but this is a child of budget, so.
So would it be since budget appoints, so would this, do we forward this to them to make that decision?
It would be a recommendation to budget who will have to enact what the procedure is gonna be.
Yeah.
And legally, this is an item that I have struggled with, this being a subcommittee that's going to last 18 years. I mean, that just feels,
Or five.
or 5.
Or two, if they all file bankrupt, there's no money.
Yeah.
So,
That's a great point too to bring out, is these funds there is a term, and they will dwindle as this moves on, so that's something else to take into account as you're giving money out to these nonprofits, that they're gonna need to understand as well. This isn't a lifelong commitment here.
but back to putting us on a 2-year cycle, the fear would be that we would all roll off.
You start to stagger, budget could
But
start
even
to
if we
stagger
stagger,
now.
our elections are all the same day. So the committee could have no experience at all.
That is a possibility, but that's every committee's like that, so, and boards for that matter.
And then citizens for 1 year, and,
That's a recommendation.
yeah, I agree. I think that we need to get more, we need more citizens involved and more, not just the same one, you know. I think we need a lot more, what's the word I want? Come on, Dylan.
Background, voice to the table,
Yeah.
representation.
Yeah, a little diversity.
What he
and
said.
we got, yeah, the same thing. So, I like the 1 year for the citizen, and I also like the idea of 2-year commitment and then move off and let some other people, you know, or you can always come off. I mean, if you don't want to, if you have any commissioner come off the committee, if they have something coming up or can't do it. But I do think budget has to do it, but you're the ones that developed it.
So you would be just sending a recommendation up from this.
How many citizens do we have?
We have 2 right now. Well,
So
we
how many
have one.
vacancies do we?
We have 1 vacancy of a citizen. And then we have,
Credit, or whatever, chief deputy credit, to keep the citizen, or is that a?
he's a non-official.
He's ex officio, yeah, so him and the mayor, that'll always resolve itself.
Okay.
So we have 4 voting commissioners.
Right. And then we have, 5.
5.
5, okay.
So, and then we have 1 vacancy at this point.
Do we, so if we're gonna have 1 year, so we're gonna, every 6 months, we'll drop a citizen and pick up a citizen? I mean, instead of, like, I don't want,
You could, she's
How do you
saying
want it?
instead of having, saying,
Staggered.
okay, like
staggered
today is
citizens.
day year from now, we appoint 2 new citizens. it's
Yeah, that would be tough.
Will
That's what I was
is,
proposing.
Will's got 6 months. We go ahead and establish a vacant person. And then in 6 months, and then.
Yeah, that way there's always somebody in the loop that, you know,
Kinda like-
citizens will continue where we were staying on.
What Lee was
That's what I
speaking
would like
on
to-
earlier, like, you kind of, you make a 3-year term, and then it reverts back to a 2-year term.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 would be exactly that. But you don't, unless you don't wanna go 3, then it'd be a 1, 2.
I don't understand the
It means somebody's gonna do a year right out of the gate to catch up to where you have alternating 2-year terms.
for the commissioners.
Correct.
Okay.
And your citizens are gonna be a year from appointment, and eventually they will stagger themselves out. Because they'll all be appointed at different times.
Yeah, so there will always be rotating.
Okay.
I like that.
It's every other month committee too, so that helps.
So it, all in favor, motion to recommend, do I have to make a vote? Recommendation to send to budget to, coordinate, figure this out.
Second.
Thanks.
You have the most eloquent motion sometimes,
As
but we all understand.
as they're figuring out, we would like to, recommend that they stagger the citizens in 6 months.
Yes.
Yes.
And this would probably be better as a separate motion, but do you all wanna address this vacancy?
We
They
have,
need to fill it.
yeah, we
We've asked
need to
them.
fill in, we've asked them.
Okay.
What they'll do, and I most likely will respond back to me and say, can you find us somebody?
Okay.
So my suggestion is they say that, or whatever they decide, is we advertise that we're looking for a citizen to be on the, not just word mouth. I mean, open it up to citizens in the community. I mean, the folks here have people they know, or even people that, just regular citizens. I mean, I entertain a student in the high schools because, you know, like a citizen from the high school that's 18 years or older, because we have issues in high school. So how about we get a citizen that's like a student, you know?
I'll leave that between you and budget then.
We need to vote on this. Do we vote? No vote.
You got a vote, I mean, you got a motion and a second, but no vote was taken.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. That's official.
Okay, so we got one more.
Motion adjourned.